Savage Dragon 132 from September of 2007. 80 pages of all-out action. The dragon and Battle Girl fight for their lives on a desperate search for the vanishing woman. We got a lot to unpack here in this oversized, square-bound monster comic, which includes all this and the rowdy regulars from the Rock House Diner, Rock, Widow, Beast Boy, Feasel, and Janie. So that's half the reason this book was published so late. We got a 9-month gap for the first issue released in 2007. Larson admitting that the Rock House Diner story took more work than expected. Also, if you look at this background, this gray background, you can see it kind of looks like a copy of a photo collage, kind of an old school technique used by, Jack Kirby and Wally Wood. You don't see that very often, but we got a lot to cover, so let's get to this one. Starting with the credits. Erik Larson, writer, artist, and colors. John Workman returns as letterer. Josh Eckhorn, specializing in custom road trips. Don't ask me. And a special tip of the hat to Tom and Mary Bierbaum, Adam Hughes, Rick Mays, and Mark Lipka, from whom I totally swiped the opening sequence. More on that shortly. Let's read this recap for the story titled Battle Girl. Previously, the evil Dark World dragon was taken down in a furious battle, and now he's rotting in the slammer. Dragon's daughter made it out of Dimension X, and a whole mess of other stuff went on. Dragon's wife is missing too. Did I mention that? Dang. This may not be the best jumping on place for new readers after all. So this opening splash may look familiar. We open with a retelling of how Dragon and Jennifer met, as previously seen in the Sex and Violence miniseries. A meet cute where Jennifer obliterates her husband's head with her fist, and Dragon is the arresting officer. A classic romance with a dash of domestic violence and murder. I think I prefer the new version just because of the, you got the red blood here, whereas the miniseries kind of used black for all the blood. So, wow, yeah, this goes on for a while. It's kind of interesting to see the side-by-side comparisons. I think there's another page there, yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's basically the same story as Sex and Violence, just retelling for current readers. Then we cut to modern day. The baby from that scene, Angel. She's all grown up now, whereas a juvenile, looking more like her mother here. And she's recently discovered her own superpowers, which we saw last issue as she punched Battle Axe through the wall there. So like her mother in that regard as well, she's got some super strength, and she wants to start fighting crime immediately. She's already got a costume that she and She-Dragon helped make. She has a name picked out, Battle Girl, but Dragon isn't too hot with this idea. While they argue about that, here's a glimpse into Dimension X, a full-page splash of Malcolm and the other kids chased by these insane-looking creatures. This is a Larson trope, I would say. A fantastic splash page that serves as a reminder of characters on a far-off adventure. So we'll see this again with Malcolm in Dimension X. And then, this is a trope he even uses today in the current storyline, showing Malcolm and his allies fighting in Russia in these splash pages. Larson basically saying, I haven't forgotten about these characters, but this is all you get for now. Anyway, so yeah, we cut from there to, Dark Dragon. He was arrested last issue, so he's pleading his case that he's the real dragon and he's innocent of any crimes. It's total bull, but he does look pretty sympathetic right there. Anyway, like Frank Darling says, this will all get settled in court. Meanwhile, Dragon is getting his ass handed to him as he's he's investigating his wife's disappearance. And Battle Girl comes to the rescue. She wants to help find her mom, and she can throw a hell of a punch, so Dragon accepts his daughter's help. They take out the bad guys. The only casualties seem to be their outfits getting shredded. Anyway, Dragon runs off to meet a woman who has some information about Jennifer, but I don't really care. Spoiler for this mystery, but Jennifer is already dead. Angel killed her. Mystery over. And now for something completely different. Erik Larson and Frank Fosco present Homecoming, a Rock House Diner story. This young woman is nervous about entering the Rock House Diner, and we find out that she is Rock's estranged daughter. So her mom has died, and now she's meeting her dad not the first time, but for the first time in a long time. And they have a reunion. I like this double-page spread. It's got a kind of Paul Pope vibes, that retro indie sort of look with the heavy blacks. So anyway, yeah, let's check out that mid-90s flip phone there. Great. Or mid-2000s flip phone, sorry. All right, so Rock and his daughter, they're attacked by these giant tapeworms. Rock outsmarts the creatures. They make it home safe. Honestly, the story could probably end here, but it continues. It's a cool splash page there, Dragon fighting this giant robot. There is some nice character development for this new girl, Gina, Rock's daughter. And you think she'd become like a supporting character, but this is pretty much the only time we ever see her. Larson hasn't really used this character much again, so it kind of feels like a waste, except for the artwork, which I find compelling. We've got an appearance by Zeke, and he's going to end up fighting, Joey Finkelberry there. This is a long-ass story. Let's see what else happens. There's a brother that shows up. I like the look of this dude. Anyway, I'm a fan of the art and Frank Fosco, and there's some fun bits in here, but nothing really of consequence. Just a nice battle. This guy has a flute. Somehow he gets crushed by the diner sign, and Gina ends up with the flute. Anyway, hell of a lot of work there, man. That's longer than the main story. It's definitely pretty thick backup story there. And we have another one, a story called Prelude by Scott James, Chris Eliopoulos letterer. And this takes place before issue 99, where there's a fight between Dark Dragon and the other dragon. But anyway, this is a tale of getting tail. Dark Dragon and Alex hooking up, fucking for hours on end, according to the clock here. But it's not all about the sex. There's some insight into their relationship and her suspicions, which are confirmed when the real Savage Dragon comes knocking on the door, if you remember that. All right, comic bits by Chris G. Russo. Pretty funny stuff with Billy the Demon. Then there's the I Word, featuring some new Image Comics. All new number ones. Lucha Libre, The Mice Templar, Parade with Fireworks, and Spawn, Architects of Fear. I'm ashamed to admit, I never read them, never heard of them. Looking at this list over here, I think the only Image comic I was reading at this time might have been The Walking Dead. Let's see, and then we got Grand Larceny. This is an editorial by Eric Larson, or a memorial, rather, for his friend artist Mike Waringo, who died of a heart attack in 2007 at the age of 44. Tragic, really. A talented artist, gone too soon. So I've shown this before, but this was an alternate cover for issue 129. And that will take us to Fanatics. Quite a lot here. I'll start with Larson up top. He says, okay, now that was a longer gap than I anticipated. Obviously, something didn't go entirely as planned. The Rock House Diner yarn ended up being a bit more work than I had anticipated. And then there were all these side projects that you don't know about yet. I colored a large part of the Silver Star collection that just came out, drawn by Jack Kirby. I'm a sucker for his stuff. And I've been doing a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, designing characters and helping folks with cover layouts and logos and designs. And then there is the Next Issue project, a huge, ongoing project which involves taking obscure Golden Age comics that are in public domain and assembling a throng of creators to tackle the next issue of that discontinued title. Fantastic Comics 24 is the first of many that I'm writing and drawing, a 13-page Samson story in that. But there's a lot of issues in the works there. And Savage Dragon, now you might think that Savage Dragon has been put on the back burner, but that's far from the truth. The fact of the matter is that I'm penciling a few issues ahead so that when I solicit the next issue or 10, I'll have that well figured out beforehand. I'm still on it. I'm still enthusiastic about it. But after 15 years, I needed a short breather so I could recharge my battery and get ready for the next 15. Woo! All right, so that's exciting news. I've never seen this Fantastic Comics next issue project, Fantastic 20 number 24 here. It sounds pretty cool, so I'm going to try and keep my eyes peeled for that. Plenty of lengthy letters here. Nothing we haven't already covered, just reaction to issue 127 from the usual suspects. And that's it. Got a back cover of the Rock House Diner there. And next is issue 133. Adios.